Yo, what's good, YouTube, and welcome back to another episode of Shoot It Straight. First and foremost, we just wanted to thank y'all for helping us get to 779 subscribers. We've been going up like crazy. We appreciate the continued support. If you enjoyed this video and these reactions to these games, drop a like, drop a comment, hit the subscribe button. Let us know what you think about any of these games. But I think without further ado, we should just get straight into this.
Yeah, we got a full topics list ready.
So, obviously, your club. We always banter my club. It's time for your club. Real Madrid played this morning, losing 1-0 to Mallorca. And look, I have my thoughts on this, but let's just go ahead and get straight into it with you. What is your initial reaction to Real Madrid losing to Mallorca 1-0?
It's despicable. It's pathetic. I mean, I don't know. Like there is the benefit of doubt. People want to defend that our injury list has grown. Right before the game started, we lost Thibaut Courtois. We're obviously down Benzema. Eder Militao got hurt last game as well. We're still down Lucas Vazquez, and we're down Ferland Mendy. So yes, we have a full injuries list of players that we'd like to have. But listen, I don't know if it's just me. I don't think we need the Ballon d'Or winner to beat 10th place Mallorca. Is that just too much to ask anymore? Am I being just too egregious? And look, Tchouaméni back in the game, he had a great game, but he's still unfit. He's not 100% fit. Alaba, thank God, is somehow be able to shake his injury, but he's still unfit. But still, Real Madrid have to get these games done. Look, I don't know if the league is already awash. I don't really know what to really believe anymore. I mean, Real Madrid did not play good enough to win this game at all. I mean, they were just kind of ineffective, and a lot of that is that this is problems that we knew we had in January. Maybe we could have done some different because we're having to play Rodrigo at striker. Look, Rodrigo's a great player. I love Rodrigo, but he's not a 9. What can he do as a 9? That's like playing Kai Havertz at 9. It's ineffective, doesn't work, and that's why he got a 3.6 rating. It's not good enough. And Marco Asensio, he had an absolute nightmare of a game. I mean, had a stellar goal in our last league match, but this one comes on, misses a pen, and just puts in an absolute nothing performance. And I think the best player on the pitch that we had was Tchouaméni, but obviously he's not 100% fit. He can't play full games yet, but still, I think this falls more upon our board. Our board has failed us. It's failed the entire team. You know, it's failed Ancelotti. Ancelotti has come out and has been reported that he wanted players in January. When Cancelo was available, he wanted Cancelo. And look what Cancelo's already doing. 2 assists in 2 games for mine. You know, that would be nice to have. I think that'd be nice to have. We're having to rough it out with Carvalho. Carvalho didn't play horribly, but yet again, he's not a game changer like Cancelo is. But I think this also falls a little bit upon Vinicius Jr. I love Vinny. I will never, ever come on here and say Vinny is, like other people are bashing Vinny. But as the third best player on this team, I expect him to take our pens for us. Look, Asensio is more of a veteran player of this team, but I don't want to see Asensio take our pens. I want it to fall into the best player's hands. And Vinny is our best player. He should be taking these pens for the higher moments because of what that game was. Because, look, we're going to be scrapping for a draw here. I mean, like, what are we? Some mid-table club right now? We're trying to, hopefully we can salvage a point against the mighty Mallorca. Like, this is belittling of us. It's a complete embarrassment, and it goes on mostly from the board, but some of these players, we have to rely on some of our veteran players. Look, Valverde, I've already given you 5 games. You have to show me something, man. Where is this? What happened to you during the World Cup? What did they do to you? I don't get it. He looks unrecognizable. He's playing with almost no soul out there, and it's going to take a lot. It's going to take a lot to turn this team around. Everybody's going to have to get fit, but realistically, that's not how sports work. We can't just rely on, hopefully we all stay healthy for the entire duration of a season. That's unrealistic. That's why there's January in place to make signings, to plug a couple holes and get you by until players can get fit to fill in those, vacant spots. But that's not what we've done. And realistically, it's looking like we just sold the league to Barca. I mean, we basically just hand gifted him. You know what? We just decided to run it back, old Buccaneer style, and hopefully we don't get injured. And guess what? You got hurt. And now it's falling apart.
And obviously, in a few minutes here, we'll probably talk about, is the La Liga title race officially over? So stay tuned for that. But if you're done, I do have my thoughts on this.
Yeah, you can go on it.
Look, overall, This was a despicable Real Madrid performance. This was a performance. It looked like Real Madrid are a mid-table club. This was look. Real Madrid are supposed to be the premier team in La Liga, along with Barcelona, but you consider Real Madrid the best team in La Liga. And for a large part of the season, at the beginning of the season, they were. When they were fully fit, by far and away, they were the better team. They were better than Barca. That's why they beat them in El Clasico. Obviously, they have been absolutely ravaged by injuries, and that's unfortunate. But this loss and the rest of this season's losses fall on one man, and well, technically multiple people, but one man, Florentino Perez, and the Real Madrid board. You mentioned it. This board is absolutely despicable. I'm not even a Real Madrid fan, and I'm upset for you because this board did absolutely nothing. They had the opportunity to fix some of these problems. You can't fix every problem in January, but they could have done some things. Joao Cancelo was on his knees begging to come to Real Madrid before he went to Bayern Munich. Ancelotti was on his knees begging Perez to get the deal done, and he said, no, we're not getting it done. You have to trust Vincent Tobias and fucking Carvajal, who's fucking pretty much, I mean, if Carvajal runs more than like 60 meters, he's already begging for a substitution. I mean, this guy, he's
and
old,
also
he's
the board
washed.
also even pointed at, and the board even pointed at Lucas Vazquez, a guy who's injured. I mean, I mean, he's injured. I mean, I don't know how you can rely on a guy that's injured. But even the other guy, was it?
Vincent Tobias.
Vinicius Tobias.
Vinicius.
He's not even on the squad list. I thought
he's
he
in
was
the Castilla.
To be fair, look, where is he? If you're looking at then bring him up, play him some games. I don't get why you're even mentioning his name to Ancelotti. If it's like, oh look, you have this guy. Well, you haven't even put him on the squad list for Ancelotti to try. He's, what, Ancelotti's not going to be there for 5 years until this kid's actually good enough to play. I don't get it.
And the reports is that Tobias is going to be a phenomenal player, but not yet. He said he's not ready. So you can't say, oh, we're not going to go get Joao Cancelo, one of the best fullbacks in the world. Even though he wasn't on good form recently, he's immediately picked back up since he's left Pep Guardiola and Manchester City. We knew that was going to happen. We knew how good Joao Cancelo was, and he just needed a change of scenery. He would be doing this for any team. If he joined Real Madrid, he would have immediately stepped up his form in the same way that he stepped up his form when he joined Bayern Munich just now, getting 2 assists. Like you said, it was inevitable this was going to happen. This falls on Florentino Perez, and we mentioned it before. I don't know if it's because of the stadium or whatever, but Perez, you need to pony up some money, and you should have made some signings. It needed to happen, and it even goes back to the fact, look, Rodrigo is a phenomenal player. He's going to be arguably one of the best players in the world in the future. It is going to happen, but he is not a number 9. That is not his position, and he's played there before, and he's done well, but you got to understand, his thing, he needs space to operate. He is not a guy who can be effective in these types of games against Mallorca, who are pretty much going to put 10 men behind the ball. He is not that type of striker. And this game would have been perfect for Benzema. Obviously, he's not fit. But Benzema is the type of striker, he can find those spaces, and he will get you a clinical finish when it needs to happen. An Erling Haaland type of player who finds the space. Rodrigo is not that type of striker. He's going to try to create chances. He's going to try to dribble through. You can't dribble through a team that is parking the bus with 10 men behind the ball. He was always going to be ineffective against a team like Mallorca. The only way it would have worked is if they got an early goal and got the lead, and then Mallorca have to come out and play a little bit. But it was the exact opposite. Nacho gets the own goal. Mallorca pretty much sit back the entire game, and Real Madrid could not create anything because of that. They were trying to cross the ball in. They were trying everything. They looked like a team that was desperate. And this is basically just goes to show that this board failed this team, failed Carlo Ancelotti, and honestly, I feel bad because this team could win the Champions League if they were all fit, and this team still has the players to do that, and they should be winning La Liga, but they needed to make a few signings, and now it's looking like it's over.
I mean, I can't disagree with any of the points you realistically made. I mean, we played despicable, and I think even in the broad end of things, we're also, this is a different problem, but just with La Liga, there's way too many fouls. We got fouled 20 times. Like, our players are going to get, because look, we're ravaged with injuries, but we're probably the most targeted team in football. I've never seen shit like this. I mean, this is something we talked about a little bit off camera, but this stuff I was mentioning soon as Eden Hazard joined. When Eden Hazard joined, dude, I swear I've never seen so many fouls in my entire life. Our players can't hold the ball without getting fouls, and most of them are targeted to Vinicius Jr. How can one player get fouled 10 times in one game?
It's a miracle Vinicius is still fit.
yeah, it's mostly for his young age and just how he's able to still spring up. But the fact that these players, like, they foul Vinny and they're like scoring, they're celebrating, like, oh my god, like they just scored a hat trick.
It was
It's
unbelievable.
despicable, man. It's disgusting. And look, I get Vinny is a guy who likes to play into it. He likes to, the in Spanish, me and my cousin always say baila Vinny baila, which is dance, because that's what he likes to do, and that's his Brazilian flair. But look, it's completely uncalled for every player just to have this target out on Vinny. I mean, he can't even sign people's jerseys anymore without Mallorca fans hackling him. I don't understand. Like, it's really like mind-boggling to me. But I think that's a bigger problem with the league. I mean, we're getting Vinny won us a pen, fair enough, but I mean, we're getting fouled incredibly high, to a high amount of times, and it could be catching up because we're an aging team. I mean, we're no spring chickens, but like they're adding up on our team.
And also, like, okay, first of all, to add on to your point with the fouls, I saw the statistic and I sent this to you. Vinicius Jr. has been fouled 20 more times than Neymar this season. And we all consider Neymar one of the most fouled players of all time because of the way he plays. But to be fouled 20 more times than Neymar is absolutely mind-boggling. And what's even more mind-boggling is when players like Mafio for Mallorca, they ask for a substitution so they can get a standing ovation for fouling a player. I have never seen that. A standing ovation for fouling a player. These fans hate Vinicius so much. It's absolutely unbelievable. But then I also wanted to make a different point here, and it's about Real Madrid's aging squad. And it's also, these players are playing too many games. And I feel bad for Real Madrid because they have to play the Club World Cup coming up. But this season, and I've seen this with Chelsea, with Liverpool, many different teams, they're underperforming because of the amount of games that have been played. So many teams are ravaged by injury this season, and it's because the World Cup. I mean, so many games have been played. I saw a statistic that in this calendar year, so far, like from February 2022 to February 2023, which is now, like Real Madrid, Chelsea, Liverpool, we've all played 65 games. It's mind-boggling. Of course, players are going to get injured.
And players have come out, and most notably, I mean, Thibaut Courtois came out and I think it was right heading into the World Cup or something, saying that the players don't get enough time for rest.
And I agree.
And he did predict that you're going to see people get more dinged up. And speaking of it, I mean, he picked up a game today. I mean, it's so much. I mean, he's a goalkeeper. I mean,
he's
we don't
a
really
goalkeeper.
See goalkeepers get injured that much, but I mean, it's so demanding. It's the most demanding year that we've ever asked from our players, because especially with the World Cup being pushed, which that was a whole different thing we talked about way back then, that we think it should have never been moved, but it did, and it's having its effects. But I won't let that, I could use that, be like, oh, Madrid are, have all the cards against them like we mostly do, but we should not need, like you said, this is a good game for Benzema. We should not need a Ballon d'Or winner to be 10th place. That's not what needs. Yeah, it would be nice to have them, but the players within the personnel we have. I mean, Nacho is more decorated the entire Mallorca franchise. I mean, literally, with the people that we have, we should be able to get the job done. But
I agree that this is not an excuse.
That's just
not an excuse, but it is what it is. Like, it's still unfortunate, like it doesn't make up for the fact that y'all have been playing bad football, uninspired football, and all of those things, but it doesn't help either.
Yeah, no, definitely does not.
But I think obviously we can transition into maybe one team that's on the other end of the spectrum. Obviously Real Madrid losing. Barca obviously winning 3-0 today against Sevilla. The match literally just ended a couple minutes ago here. And I'll pass this one off to you once again as a Madrid fan. Obviously now, as a result of this, you fall 8 points behind Barcelona in that Liga title race. We'll talk about that Liga title race specifically after this. But what is your initial reaction to Barca getting this win?
This is something that I've always been somewhat jealous of Barca for. That they've always been a better league team than us in recent memory. Not all time, because obviously, early Madrid, but in recent memory, they've always been very good in the league because they can always show up to games like this, like random off days in Sevilla or even in Mallorca, or they can play up to the level they need to play to beat these lower level teams. They've always been great at that. Madrid, on the other side, have not always been the greatest team in the league, just because they can not always play, bring it up to play these type of teams. And Barca are playing well. I mean, they've caught fire. I mean, after the World Cup break, they just decided, you know what? I mean, after there's fans that wanted Xavi sacked. I mean,
Hmm.
it that wasn't that long ago where that
It
was a
wasn't.
thing that people that they were calling for Xavi's head. But it looks
Just
like
a few
they
months
finally
ago.
been able to figure. Yeah, I mean, they figured it out. I mean, Gavi and Pedri are playing great. Lewandowski's back. Rafinha actually had a good game today.
He did.
It
Very
took
good
so
game.
damn long. He finally played good. And I mean, Jordi Alba was able to score. I mean,
He
I
took
mean,
back the
oh my
clock today.
god! I mean, everything's going good for them right now, and you know, I can't deny that they're playing well, and they might beat us in a couple of the rounds. I mean, literally, I don't know what's going to
Wouldn't be
happen with our
surprised at the
team so
moment.
ravaged. Wouldn't be very surprised, but you know, I do have to give Barca the props. They're a great league team. They're very good. When Barca are what they're up to their standard, they're very difficult to beat in the league because like a Man City, they're almost just so accustomed to buckling down for the league. The only shit where they get caught up is in big games, like in Europe. I mean, I don't know even how that happens because now you look at this team, you're like, how did this team ever not even qualify for the round of 16?
Yeah.
But that's back in the past. If they were still in the Champions League, I mean, there'd be talks that people would be looking at them as favorites. But
Yeah. But they're
they're
not. They're
that
Europa League favorites now.
they're Europa League favorites now. But they're a great league team. I think that's what has to be lighted on right now. They're performing very well, and there's not really much else I could say about it.
Yeah. I mean, look, for me, being able to take in this match, I was utterly impressed because in that first half, I saw a team that was very difficult to break down in Sevilla. And I knew, even though Sevilla, compared to their standards, have not been very good this season, you cannot deny that this was going to
They've
be a
been pretty
tough game for
poor. I think
Barca.
they're 14th.
It's obviously Sevilla is very accustomed to being higher in the
Yeah.
league, but I still knew this was going to be a tough game for Barcelona, and that's exactly what it was in the first half. It was 0-0 at halftime, and I was like, this is the type of game that champions win. They find a way to win these types of games where it's not quite going for you in the first half. Sevilla, very difficult to break down, but you need to find a way, and that's exactly what they did. They found a way to break through, and ultimately, I give all the credit in the world to Xavi because I don't know what he told them at halftime, but it was an utterly magisterial second half performance. I mean, this was Barcelona. It looked like prime Barcelona. And I mean, one thing about Xavi's Barcelona, when Xavi first came to Barcelona, I expected Barcelona to almost bring back that Pep Guardiola style of football. And I'm not saying they don't play like that, but one thing I didn't expect was their defense to be completely and utterly transformed. Barcelona's defense is so strong. It is so difficult to break down. They've only conceded 7 goals in La Liga this season. 7 goals in La Liga. That is an utterly unbelievable defensive record. And I think 3 of them came in El Clasico when they played Real Madrid.
Yeah.
So that just goes to
Yeah.
show how good they have been defensively against pretty much everybody else. And with an 8-point gap, it's looking very, very good for them to win La Liga. But this was a completely and utterly dominant performance, especially in the second half. And I was honestly getting ready to come on here and say Rafinha might be getting sold in the summer because he was playing shit. But then that
He
second half,
was.
he turned it up. And if Rafinha can keep playing like this with the injury to Ousmane Dembele, they're going to need him to. This Barca team is not looking like they have many weaknesses at the moment. Lewandowski's back. He played well, even though he wasn't able to get a goal. Pedri and Gavi, they do what they do. And one guy who I wanted to give him credit to was Kessie, because he hasn't always been getting a lot of game time for Barca since joining from Milan on a free. Busquets got injured, and he filled in perfectly. He got a utterly gorgeous, beautiful assist to Jordi Alba for that opening goal. It was literally, it looked like a Xavi pass for a second. He flicked it, and then Alba was
So
able to go and
Xavi.
finish. It was a brilliant pass, and honestly, I mean, I wouldn't have expected Kessie to be able to do that. But it looks like Busquets' injury may be longer than Barca fans would like, with potentially 2 to 3 to 4 weeks. And if that's the case, they're going to need Kessie to continue to play like that. And if he does, they won't necessarily miss Busquets as much as people might think they would. So overall, I come away from this performance thinking this is what champions do, and we're going to get into that in a second here. But I think Barca, they're on a very good course to win La Liga now.
I mean, when you look at Barca's 11 right now, they're dealing with some injuries. Like you said, Busquets just went down, but they're also missing Dembele, and they were still able to perform very well without arguably their second to third best player.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
but
I'll probably say 3 behind Ter Stegen.
But that goes to show the difference between right now, in my opinion, Barca and Real Madrid. Because if both teams are healthy, I think Real Madrid has a better starting 11. if both teams are fully fit. But Barca have very good depth. Ousmane Dembele gets injured, and they have Rafinha to put right in. And even though Rafinha hasn't been on good form, he has the quality in him. And Xavi stuck with them. He stuck with them through his bad form, and he proved himself right today. He proved why maybe he's going to continue to play, and maybe even when Dembele gets back, proved why he should, continue to get game time. I mean, I wouldn't start him over Dembele, but he needs to still get game time. And
Yeah,
that's the main
because
difference right now. Depth.
Rafinha is a guy that could play on both sides of the wing. He could play left, he could play right. So yeah, he can get in the team even when Dembele is there. But even when you look at this 11, they're playing Gavi at left wing. I mean, they're playing Koundé at right back. Like these players can play, kind of anywhere, just because Barca right now are just playing a better system of football. I mean, if they're somehow making it work with Gavi at left wing, and like I said, Koundé right back, they're doing spectacular, as if those guys are meant to play those positions. Unlike a Real Madrid, if we put Militao right back, it's the end of the world. I mean, I swear to God, I've never seen a man in boots be this bad. And we play obviously Rodrigo as center forward, and it's the worst thing ever. So it mostly, maybe it's just one of those things that Ancelotti is trying. His system really relies more on the players that we have when they're fit. But Xavi's system, it can be, it has so many guys that they can make it work. Like Gavi is a kid that can play realistically. You put him at the left wing, he's going to do what he needs to do in this system, which is hold the ball, pass the ball, and, play this more, possession style ball.
Yeah.
Unlike, Koundé has become very well, but unlike Militao, like our right backs, we rely on our right backs to be involved in the attack, be able to have a good touch on the ball and advance play. Militao is the opposite of that. He cannot do any of that. So
he's a very solid center back, a very good defender, but
he's a good center back. But a right back, my God, he's fucking like a lamb on skates when he's out there. But Barcelona, I got to give them credit. They're playing well in the league, and they, we'll probably, this is going to ease us into the next topic, is the league title race over? And, I wouldn't say, I'm not going to say 100%, but if I were to split it, it's like, maybe 80%, 20% that Barca are looking like the more dominant team. I mean, their defense looks transformed, and I mean, they have a defense with Christensen, Jordi Alba, and, Koundé at right back. You wouldn't think that's that good, but it's also a lot to do with the midfield. Pedri is a great box-to-box guy. He can go. De Jong is a great box-to-box. They have a very youthful midfield, even with a side of Busquets when he's fit, as the veteran head to keep everything down there, and he's arguably one of the greatest center defensive midfielders ever.
Yeah,
I mean, they definitely get a lot of help from that midfield as well, not just the back line, but their defense is one. Yeah, Ter Stegen, he's always been very good, and that's put this defense up there, with some of the best in Europe. And I would give them a good shot to just, close it out, because Madrid do have the Champions League and a lot of other things that they're kind of run thin, and we're kind of running our players to the ground. So it's looking like it's meant to be Barca.
Yeah, look, I agree. And I would even go as far to say that, in my opinion, that La Liga title race is over. And obviously it's, crazy to say that with 18 games remaining and eight points clear. But the reason why I say that is because Barca have shown how consistent they can be in the league. 2 draws and only 1 loss, and obviously that loss came to Real Madrid. And let's just say that they lose El Clasico again. They're still 5 points clear of Real Madrid. That is a big gap. And the way Barca have been playing in the league, look, games against Sevilla, I consider those to be tough games. And they win 3-0, dominant second half performances. They have shown the championship grit, in my opinion. They haven't won anything yet, but they have shown that grit and that mentality to go on and win La Liga. They're so consistent. Their defense is so difficult to break down. I mean, you're lucky to score 1 goal against them, and that means pretty much you have to get a 1-0. It's very difficult to beat Barca because you cannot score that many goals on them. And that's why, outside of Real Madrid, if they're fit, who is realistically going to score enough goals to beat them? I'm not saying they're never going to have an off game here and there, maybe, but I think with the way Real Madrid are playing and the way that their players, and they're ravaged by injury, they are more likely to drop a couple more points. Real Madrid are not going to go unbeaten for the rest of the season, and Barca probably won't either. But Real Madrid would have to go on an unbelievable run of form, and Barca would have to drop, I guess 9 points in order for Real Madrid to even sniff La Liga. I think that the Liga title race is over. Obviously, just because of their consistency. They are so consistent. And Real Madrid is looking anything but consistent at the moment. So I don't have any reason to believe that this Barca team won't continue to play like that. And also, like you said, you made a good point. At this point, Real Madrid, their main focus is going to be on the Champions League. I mean, they are going to want to win the Champions League. It's what they always do. They're, the Champions League team. They have 14 of them. So when you add the Champions League coming up, and more than likely they are going to beat Liverpool, and that means they're going to continue to have more games. They have the Club World Cup. They just have so many games. Like, they are more likely to get more injuries. And even if they do not get injuries, these players are going to be tired. They're going to have to rotate, and you can't really rotate when you have no squad depth. So it's just like there are so many issues with Real Madrid at the moment. I find it highly unlikely they can realistically push and make up this 8-point gap in La Liga. Obviously stranger things have happened, but if Barca lose La Liga, it's going to be more down to them having an epic collapse. And I just don't see that happening. I just really don't see that happening. Like, who are they going to lose to?
I don't see Barca dropping 9 points. I mean, from how they've been playing, but that's just goes back to like how I think Barca is just a better league team. I mean, more in the recent history they have been, and Madrid can muster it up to play in big games, play very well. I mean, this is a team we saw, go 1-0 down Atletico Madrid in a Copa del Rey, and going down 1-0 to Atletico Madrid, within the first 10 minutes, that's like a hell sentence. It's like
sentence,
get ready for hell now, because Atletico are literally anti-football.
Yeah.
But Madrid was able to batter them basically for the rest of the game, beat them 3-0. This is a team that can, like I said, they thrive in knockout competition. We've always loved, the Champions League. This is what this team is mostly built its identity on. I mean, we're not, the greatest league team ever. I mean, we've won a couple. I mean, to be fair, but in recent history, we've not always been the best, just because we only like to play it. We love playing for the big moments. We love playing in knockout football, and I think that's where realistically our only chances are at the moment to win any silverware in the Champions League, which is going to be very tough. I mean, to go back to back. I mean, that's a lot to ask, but that's the expectations on Real Madrid, and for us to win the Copa del Rey. And now we have to go against Barca, but that's where usually our best football is played right now. I mean, that's where I've seen it. I mean, when we have these more Madrid, we're playing a very good team and we have to play our best ball. But when we have to play against like a Mallorca, some of these players kind of just wave it off. It's like, oh, it's Mallorca, it's whatever. And then we go and we put in that type of performance, and that's what happens.
Yeah, and I even saw Nacho today in his post-game press conference saying that the time slot that they were playing, because it was like, I don't know what the time it would be in Spain, but it was an 8 a.m. game here in America. So
it was pretty, yeah. Like for our standards, it was very early.
And they said that the players don't like to play in that time slot. I don't know. I just know that, like you said, Real Madrid thrive in knockout competition. More than likely, if they were playing almost anybody else in the Champions League knockout rounds, I would say they have a risk of going out. But Liverpool have been arguably even worse. Liverpool.
Oh my God, yeah. We're actually going to talk about them later on, but I'm not really sweating Liverpool. But if we lose to Liverpool,
crisis.
I don't even know what I would say.
Bro.
Like that was like it's already kind of at the moment like two trash teams going at it. It's like El Shitico, but we'll have to see.
No, like the only reason I won't say Real Madrid are in a crisis yet is just because they have to have the Champions League, and no matter how bad they are, quote unquote, they just find a way to perform in the Champions League. But if they somehow lose to Liverpool, who have looked even more shit, Real Madrid are in a crisis. Ancelotti is definitely not making it past this season. But that's a conversation for another day.
I think if we don't win any silverware, Ancelotti's gone. I mean, if that's wrong or bad, whatever. But that's just how it is. That's how it works.
Day, yeah. Ancelotti, his future, we don't even know yet. But I'm sure.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, right now, I'm sure you're Ancelotti in, obviously, but that could change.
I mean, I love Carlo, but we'll see.
Yeah, but obviously, maybe transitioning away from La Liga and into the Premier League. Oh, man, what a performance today from Tottenham. And I mean, you keep going first, so I'm sure you might want me to.
Yes. Yeah, no, you take this one first. I mean, it's you're currently most like top league. This is the league that involves your team. So yeah. So
I thought you were gonna ask me the question.
Oh shit. Well, I thought you were going to go into it. Obviously, Manchester City lose 1-0 to Tottenham Hotspur. So, obviously, now I'll pass it off to you. what do you think about this performance by Spurs?
Well, from Spurs, it was a complete and utter masterclass, something that I wouldn't have expected. Look, Antonio Conte not even on the sidelines because he's obviously unwell at the
Yeah,
moment.
he's
All best
unwell.
wishes to him. Hopefully he's well. But what a performance for Spurs. But look, my main focus here is on Manchester City because this was an utterly despicable performance from Manchester City. This was arguably, I think, one of the worst games I've ever seen from Manchester City under Pep Guardiola. And it's crazy to say that, but I don't think that's too crazy to say because this was just, what did they really create? I can't really think back and say, look, Mahrez hit the crossbar, and that was probably their best chance in the whole game. They didn't create enough chances. And, the talks have been, has Haaland ruined Manchester City, blah, blah, blah. I still don't think he has. But I will say, the thing that is costing Manchester City at the moment is the fact that they do not have the same players that they had last season, and they did not properly replace them. If you think back, in the transfer window, Manchester City, they lost Gabriel Jesus to Arsenal, who obviously we know where they're at the moment. Zinchenko to
Yeah.
Arsenal. They lost Raheem Sterling to Chelsea. Obviously, Chelsea are shit, but Raheem Sterling was one of the most integral players of Manchester City. He was a player who could play very direct. He was a guy who knew how Pep Guardiola wanted to play. He was there since Pep Guardiola pretty much got to Manchester City. He knew exactly what he needed to do in the system, and they did not properly replace him. They tried to pave over the cracks of their problems by bringing in Julian Alvarez and Erling Haaland. And those are two great players, two great strikers. But they have wing issues. Jack Grealish, I mean, look, you paid $100 million for him, but he is not really that type of player. Right? I mean, he's not really that great. He's a flop. It's just what it is. He's a flop. And
Yeah,
Riyad Mahrez is
he had a
great.
couple good performances off the bench, but at starting, it's not looking great for him.
And Riyad Mahrez is obviously, he's a great player, but City, what made them so good was the fact that they had the best depth of arguably any team in the Premier League. They were so deep of a squad that if you had to rotate, if you had injuries, they were okay. Now, Manchester City, they are not the same. I mean, first of all, in this match, this midfield was absolutely despicable. First of all, I don't know what formation they were playing. I've seen 5 different formations. But apparently, it was like a 3-2-4-1. First of all, Pep Guardiola, what are you doing? A 3-2-4-1? What? What are you playing, bro? And then to have the audacity to drop Kevin De Bruyne. You drop Kevin De Bruyne for Tottenham. It's not like you're playing Norwich or fucking Leeds or whatever. You're playing Tottenham. That's a big game. And you're going into a stadium, in Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, that you have never won. Pep Guardiola has never won in this new Tottenham Stadium. And they've never scored. They've never scored.
They've never scored.
That's a remarkable stat. And you have the audacity to play this attacking 3-2-4-1 formation or whatever, and you don't have your most creative midfielder. He's sitting there on the bench, and then when shit is going and they're hitting the fan and your team is playing bad, then you decide to sub him in, and he could never really get a foothold into the match. In my opinion, this match is on Pep Guardiola. He's the greatest manager of all time, but this match is on him. He has once again overthinked a big match. And to be fair, Spurs didn't really create that much either. But they capitalized on one Rodri mistake. And Rodri, I love Rodri, but he didn't play that well today. Obviously, he made the catastrophic error that gave Harry Kane his record-breaking goal. This was just a shit Manchester City performance. And it just goes to show that they tried to pave over the cracks of their squad problems. And it hasn't worked. Haaland can only do so much. Haaland has changed the way that they play. And realistically, they needed to sign a midfielder in the summer. They needed to bring in a winger. They needed to replace these players more properly and also they needed to bring in probably a fullback. You're getting rid of Joao Cancelo,
They have to
but then
let a
also,
fullback go, yeah.
God forbid, you lose Joao Cancelo, and you already made the decision to sell Zinchenko in the summer, which I know he regrets. I know he regrets that because Zinchenko has been so great for Arsenal. But Zinchenko, he would be a starter for Man City right now. He would be their starting fullback, be their starting left back. And obviously, I don't think he knew this was going to happen with Joao Cancelo, but I know he regrets that. Horrible move. Manchester City, they lost the league title by selling their best players, well, not their best players, but key players to Arsenal. That's what cost them this title. And, it's a despicable performance.
Yeah, I mean, we mentioned this before that is Arsenal a monster that Man City created? I
They
mean,
exactly they created them.
Man City they gave them their manager and gave them two very good players that helped them get titles. I mean, Gabriel Jesus, he has been gone, but he played a big part in their early success. And
Hmm.
Zinchenko, another guy who, I mean, I think I forget how
Very
old he is.
underrated.
He doesn't
I
look
think he's
very old, but
20,
I mean,
27,
he's like
28, 26.
27. He's a veteran guy. He knows how to win. And as soon as he got there, I mean, they asked him like player. They were joking around. So, oh, I think we're gonna win the league. And Zinchenko was saying, "We're gonna win the league." No, no laughs, no jokes,
Yeah.
no nothing, because he's a winner. This is what this guy is. And look, I don't know what formation they were playing. Like you said, I have like a couple. I have
don't even
one pulled
know.
up here. Mine says they're playing 4-4-2. It looks like with the players
My-
that are hand on there, that's what they would play. I
yeah.
don't know. It's something I thought maybe could work because I mentioned it before. Maybe play Holland and Julian Alvarez together. But by
It didn't
God,
work.
it was an absolute nightmare out there. I mean, they both put in sub. They didn't even get over a 5 out of 10 rating on anything. They played absolutely horrible. Holland, his first Premier League game ever, without registering a shot on target at
They
all.
just
For
they didn't
Erling
create
Haaland,
enough.
that's unacceptable. Yeah, it was unacceptable.
He's a player that
Jack
relies on
Grealish,
service, and they didn't give him
yeah,
no
and
service.
I mean they tried to have an I think they had the players out there that should be able to. I mean, you would think Bernardo Silva, Jack Grealish, and
And out of
Riyad
form,
Mahrez, and
Bernardo
even
Silva.
Julian Alvarez, could get some, but could make some chances. But I mean, I don't know. They got rid of Cancelo and decided, let's play Rico Lewis at left back. Who
Yeah,
the fuck is Rico Lewis?
it's head
Like, I don't
scratching.
know.
It's head scratching.
It's a bit weird. I mean, they're rely on Ake and Akanji at center back. I mean, these are guys that aren't proven. I don't know if you could really get this back line together. I mean, the only one veteran guy there is Kyle Walker, but is that a back line that could really win you a Premier League? I don't think
No,
so.
no, and obviously they have some
And
injuries, but it's
obviously, yeah, they have some injuries. I mean, let's see. I
Ruben
mean, actually, they're
Diaz,
only Ruben Diaz. He got a big
John
knock.
Stones.
John Stones. But I mean, realistically, this team should be good enough to be. I mean, last week this is a team that went down 2-0 to the Spurs team and roared back in a crazy second half comeback. This is the exact same team. No, at time this is not like it was a year ago. That was like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
This was the exact same team, and they've absolutely fallen apart. I don't know how if maybe they just get how the way they gave up the goal just sucked out everything out of the team. But I mean, these were the same players that gave up 2 goals in 2 minutes to Spurs in the Etihad, in the Etihad. So I don't know if it's just a curse with the Spurs stadium that they can never play up to it. But I mean, this does come down to Pep Guardiola, like a criminal, he's an overthinker. He thinks too much about these key matches. I mean, because obviously this team saw Arsenal drop points. I mean, Arsenal dropped points to a relegation side Everton. And it's like, oh my God. But now all the pressure goes on Man City, because that's a lot of things people don't think about. There's a lot of pressure that goes into that next game for the number 2 guy, because it's like, we have to win this game now. They just dropped points against Everton. We have to capitalize. And now Pep Guardiola has to sit on that, think about that, and it got to him. I mean, Spurs has been able to manhandle Guardiola in their stadium, let's just say, not in total, but in these big matches. I mean, they've been able to get the better of the City side, and that's what happened. And I mean, North London is buzzing right now. I mean, it's a bit weird for Spurs to be celebrating this, because you're basically handing Arsenal a Premier League title. But I mean, the players want to win. I mean, the fans can be annoyed, but players on the pitch want to win matches. So it's like, it's not like the coaches are going into the locker room and says, you know what, lads, I think we just got to throw this one in, because we'd hate to see Arsenal win it, would you? That's not how it works.
And Spurs are fighting for Champions League football. They can't.
Yeah,
they can't just throw the towel.
You can't just throw in and give City points. And God, who wants to see City keep winning, man? Like, fuck off. I don't want to see City win every single time.
It's one of those things. My point. Congratulations, Arsenal. You've officially won the league. I should have said it earlier. Arsenal are going to be the Premier League champions. They are going to be eventually 8 points clear. They have a game in hand of Man City. They're currently 5 points clear. This was basically a blip up. They messed up against Everton. They played a bad game. But they have the new manager bounce, Sean Dyche, phenomenal manager. Kept Burnley up many, many times, which Burnley, you know what I mean? Like, it's not really a great football club. If Sean Dyche, this is what you can expect out of him. This is not going to be a consistent thing for Arsenal. They're not going to fall off the cliff. I expect next week they get back right onto winning ways. And that's why this title race is over. Manchester City, this is not the same Man City team, and Arsenal, they are just playing better right now. They are the better team. And I denied it. I didn't want to tell myself that. I just believe that, oh, it's Pep Guardiola, it's Man City, they have the aura, they will find a way to get it done. But I have finally come to terms with and accepted the fact that this is just not the same Man City team. They kind of, in my opinion, fall under the same boat as Real Madrid, and not in the sense of having a bunch of injuries, but in the fact that they needed to make some signings and they didn't. And that's what it comes down to. They needed to make some signings, whether that's in the summer, whether that's in January. They needed to do something to inject this squad with midfield help, with defensive help, and maybe they would have competed for the league then. But they didn't. They were complacent. And when Man City lose this Premier League title, which they will, I expect Man City to go big in the summer and sign some big players, or try to. You know what I mean? And that's a conversation for another day. But that's what I personally expect. And, it's Man City. They better hope they can do something in the Champions League. That's all I can say.
Yeah, and I'm sure we'll have this discussion later on that, it's looking like Haaland has made this City team worse. I mean, this is the worst team by far that we've seen Man City put out there.
But my point on that is Haaland is a great player, but he's a player that relies on service. And in my opinion, they are not getting him the service. And the guy who does get him the service is Kevin De Bruyne. I mean, that partnership has been absolutely lethal. And you didn't even play him until the 60th minute, and when you subbed once, or the 59th minute. So, like I said, it doesn't make any sense to leave out Kevin De Bruyne of any team. He should be the first name on the team sheet. That's how good he is. And that's how integral he is to this team, which it's just why it's mind-blowing he didn't make the team. But like I said, that's on Pep Guardiola. I blame Pep Guardiola for this loss. And obviously, the thing is, even if he makes the right personnel decisions, they still might lose the game. But we'll never know, because Pep Guardiola decided to do some crazy thing in a big game. It just doesn't make any sense. Why does he always do this? It's just mind-boggling to me.
Yeah, but I think that for the moment, that wraps up that whole City debacle, and I can move on to our next, growing topic at the moment, which is what is it? It's Liverpool, yeah?
Yeah.
So obviously, it's Liverpool.
Liverpool have been absolutely despicable this season. Somehow they found a way to be worse than Chelsea. I mean, Liverpool and Chelsea are the 9th and 10th place brothers at the moment, and they keep swapping back and forth. And right now, Liverpool, they've fallen down into 10th place, literally the bang average mid-table club. And obviously, that is going to start to raise questions about Jurgen Klopp. And I'll pass this one off to you first. In your opinion, should Liverpool be looking at sacking Jurgen Klopp?
I mean, I think it's hard not to. I mean, that's how it is in football. Jurgen Klopp obviously is a Liverpool legend, I mean, for what he's able to do. But it's looking like this team has just finally gotten all they can out of him. I mean, it's looking like they're not responding to him like they did in prior years. I mean, this offense is basically non-existent. I mean, Mohamed Salah is basically not even out there. I mean,
yeah.
I think I saw some crazy stat that was like Liverpool's leading goal scorer is some guy on loan. I mean, some guy that's not even on their team anymore. I mean, it's horrible. I mean, Gakpo has not been anything of what that we thought. It's looking like it's going to be another waste of money, another
Darwin
transfer
Nunez.
flop, like Darwin Nunez. And that was what, like we said, was going to be the nail in the coffin, just because they gambled on these big money signings and that none of them planned out to how they expected. And it's like it's going to cost Jurgen Klopp his job, because I mean, 10th place for this Liverpool team is unacceptable. I mean, it's you can't, for what Liverpool, I mean, or maybe this is just what they're reverting back to the norm of, like, this is what Liverpool actually is. They're not, they had a great little run of what they played up. But the team is no longer really responding to Jurgen Klopp no more. And usually when that happens, it's time to bring in a new person in. And I think that is what needs to happen. I mean, maybe it's going to take a new voice to get to these players to, get them back to at least in the top 5. I mean, get back in, you're a big 6 club and you're in 10th place right now. So, I mean, and especially when Newcastle is up there and they're trying to take your spot. I mean, there's teams that are trying to, assert themselves and be one of the big 6 now, instead of taking of Liverpool's spot. So it's important that Liverpool need to get out of this rut. And to do that, it's going to look like it's going to cost Jurgen Klopp his job. And I think that's what should happen. I mean, they need a new voice in the locker room, and unfortunately, I love Jurgen Klopp for what he's been able to do, but it's just how football works. I mean, we've seen great managers, but they don't last forever. I mean, there's only so many times you can hear the same voice tell you to do the same thing until it just stops working.
It's an interesting opinion of yours. For me, I think Jurgen Klopp has been dealt a shit hand of cards here is the best analogy to be used here. I think if I'm Liverpool, I wouldn't sack Jurgen Klopp. I think you consider it, and I think genuinely they might actually sack him. But if I'm Liverpool, I wouldn't do it because Jurgen Klopp is probably top 2 managers in the Premier League. I mean, Mikel Arteta has been a revelation, but it's still early days. I'm not going to put him in that conversation with Pep and Klopp yet. So for me, it's Pep and Klopp, the best 2 managers in the Premier League. And I don't think you just let that guy walk. I don't think you can justify sacking him. Although the performances have been shit, you got to look at the cards he's been dealt. I mean, first of all, a midfield 3 that they used against Wolves was Thiago Bajcetic. I don't even know how to say that. I'm probably butchering that. And Keita.
Possibly.
And obviously, Thiago is a great player. But Keita has been a shit signing ever since he joined Liverpool.
Ever since he came.
That's not going to... Yeah. Like, this midfield trio is not the same as what it's been in the past for Liverpool. They have a shit midfield and arguably the worst center back pairing in the Premier League right now in Joe Gomez and Joel Matip. It looks like obviously when you have Van Dijk, it paves over a lot of the cracks of the Liverpool defense. But, you got Andy Robbo, who's a great left back, and Trent, who's a very good attacking fullback, but he's never been good at defending. And so basically 3 out of 4 of this Liverpool defense are shit defenders. That's like, they're just shit defenders. So I think Klopp has been dealt a shit hand here, and he might get sacked because of, when you're 10th place, something's got to change. I mean, I get it. But Liverpool, they need to re-inject the squad with actually proper signings that actually make sense, because signing Gakpo in January didn't make really any sense. I mean, I look, you want to sign attackers, you want to score goals because, you've been shit all season, but they could have used a midfielder so much more than Gakpo. And I think Gakpo might have actually performed better in Manchester United where, he would have been with Ten Hag, but that's a conversation for another day. Mm-hmm. I just don't know if Gakpo was the right signing. So you signed Gakpo for, what was it, almost 40 million, but then you're leaving them with Thiago Bajcetic and Keita in midfield. Like, that's not going to be a midfield that can win you Premier League games. Because in my opinion, Lamina and Neves for Wolves is literally a better midfield. Ruben Neves is a way better midfielder than Keita. Yeah. He's way better. And then if when your midfield is so bad, you're subbing on Harvey Elliott, Jordan Henderson, James Milner. I mean, there is just no real good options in the midfield right now for Liverpool. Obviously, some of that is because of injury, but at a certain point, you have to realize that the players are just shit. They're just not that good. I mean, Salah, obviously, we know he can be good, but even he can't play.
He had a horrible game versus Wolves.
He can't play up to his standards when he doesn't have a proper midfield behind him, when he's playing with Darwin Núñez. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, this is not the same Liverpool team. And to be honest, I've said it before, they shouldn't have ever sold Mane. They should have found a way to keep him. But even if they had Mane, they would still be shit because of how bad this midfield and defense is. They have such big issues at Liverpool right now with personnel that firing Klopp would just be like the scapegoat. And it would just pave over the cracks of the real issues at Liverpool. It's very similar to Chelsea, but it's also different. Chelsea have a lot of personnel issues. Obviously, they're willing to spend way more than Liverpool to fix those issues. But I think Potter should go because I don't believe in Potter. But Klopp has already proved himself. We know how good of a manager he is. If you give him the personnel, he will succeed. It's proven. It's a fact. If you put Klopp on Chelsea right now, they're a way better team. But no manager with these cards that he's being dealt at Liverpool right now would succeed. I genuinely believe that. Pep, no manager in the world would succeed with this Liverpool team at the moment. It's just not a good team. So they might sack Klopp, but I think it would be a mistake because then you have shit players and you're going to bring in a manager that is not Jurgen Klopp. It's going to be very difficult to find a better manager than Klopp that is willing to take that job right now, in my opinion.
Yeah, and to give Liverpool the benefit of the doubt, they do have a very long injury list. I mean, I just took a look at it. I mean, they have, obviously, Virgil van Dijk is they reported out till February 18th. Bobby Firmino out. Diego Jota out. Archer still out. Konate, who actually got injured not too long ago. One of their
Yeah.
better center backs
One of their better
is
center backs,
injured.
yeah.
Luis Diaz still. Yeah, and Luis Diaz still injured from I believe last season, but he's I think what he do tear an ACL, I believe. Something it was a bad injury, I
Something
think.
like that. Yeah,
I
bad
forget. It
injury.
was yeah, he's out till March 5th, and I mean it's hard to play against that. I mean, it's hard to overcome that when you basically the better batch of your players on your team is injured. I mean, it's similar to Real Madrid. I mean, we've talked about a lot of injuries the same, but this is pretty bad. I mean, obviously Virgil van Dijk is arguably their best player, and he's out. I mean, well, they're two center backs, both their best center backs are out. I mean, it's hard to do that, and you're pulling Allison, put back there, and poor Allison can't do nothing about it because his defense sucks. And Mohamed Salah's playing horrible because he has a bad midfield. I mean, it's a big slew of things, but it's, I personally, if they sack Klopp, I mean, I'd like him at Madrid.
Oh, I would love him at Chelsea. I mean, every club would want Jurgen Klopp.
Yeah,
that's how good of a manager he is.
Every club would want Jurgen Klopp. But it's just how sometimes just how football is. I mean, this team could bring in another manager, whatever. Let's just say they bring in Thomas Tuchel or something. They could react in that short instance better with Tuchel and maybe get up to fifth, because that's just how like the weird odd of how shit works in football. But obviously Jurgen Klopp is an upper tier echelon manager, obviously like top 3 in the world, but I think that's just what needs to happen for Liverpool, that they just need that change, that switch, because I mean, realistically, who are they going to get? I mean, they get all fit again. I don't think that's really going to change very much. And it's like, does Klopp want to retire here? What's the goal? What's the point here? Like, what's going to be the end goal? But I mean, it might just be better. They're both off, just parting ways.
Parting ways. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I could see that. And if that's what Klopp wants to do and that's what Liverpool wants to do, like, I understand it and I understand why. But I don't think Liverpool should be chomping at the bit saying we will immediately solve all of our problems if Klopp goes, because I don't think that's the case. You know what I mean? And they might end up parting ways like we kind of said, but they should not be like eager to do it. They shouldn't be like, we got to sack him right now. This is Jurgen Klopp we're talking about. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt.
I think Liverpool should just, almost kind of go into like a semi-rebuild. I mean, sell Salah.
Yeah.
Sell Salah and, maybe, get rid of Nunez, or fucking try and make something work. I don't know. Really, you can't get nothing for Nunez. So, I mean, I think Gakpo's, he's a solid player. I don't think he's going to be a world beater. I don't think he's Kylian Mbappe or nothing, but
obviously
he could be a solid player. He could be pretty good.
They're calling Gakpo's on the verge of being 007, 0 goals, 0 assists, 7 games played.
007.
But I cut you off.
That's a great stat to have. No, I basically wasn't saying much anymore. Just that it might be time to get rid of some of the more veteran guys that are worth money. I mean, I would cash in on Salah. When you look at it right now, you cash in on Salah, you could possibly get 80, 70 odd million for him. I mean, that's 70 million right around there. So I mean,
PSG maybe you can cash in for a little more.
Yeah, possibly, but it's just what should be looked at now, and the Liverpool era looks to be coming to an end.
It's unfortunate, and it's one of those things. It's going to be an era that goes underappreciated because they didn't win as much as probably they should, and that's because of Pep Guardiola and because of Man City. And it's just crazy because that Liverpool team, we all remember how good they were.
It was very, very good, but they did, in a sense, they did kind of underachieve because I mean, but the fact they were able to, I mean, they're the first team in a long time to make back-to-back Champions League finals. I mean, other than Madrid, who else has done that in recent memory? I mean, it's very impressive on what they do. And like you said, they had to compete against that Man City team. So that's always going to be something that's going to be taken out because, I mean, before they broke through and won the league, they lost to City the year before by 1 point. Yeah. That's how close it was. They lost by 1 point. But that's always going to be one of the better sides that we've possibly ever seen. Definitely in our lifetime, but things have to come to an end. Things don't last forever.
What better segue to transition into our outro of this video? And obviously, I think to be fair, it's been a great week of football, and that's what makes these videos so good. Is when you have a great week of football, you're able to have videos like this.
It sucks when nothing happens. I mean,
it really does.
Weirdly enough, we do like when big teams lose stuff. So now we have something to actually talk about because like for example, if Arsenal beat Everton and City just beat Spurs, we don't really have anything to talk about. I mean, I'm not gonna come on here and talk about, oh my God, City beat fucking relegation Everton. This is a great day, but like, we all love some drama. I mean, we love
Yep.
drama to happen because everybody likes drama. Who doesn't like drama?
Yeah, and obviously we hope that this kind of continues. You know what I mean? I mean, who doesn't love to see drama in football? Hopefully this continues. I mean, to be fair, I don't know if I'm going to see
I
much
can't wait for
drama.
the Champions League. I mean, Champions League is all
That's
drama. I mean,
that's
that's
my next
just
point.
yeah.
Expect our Champions League prediction video to drop probably this week because it's Champions League is officially happening next week. I mean, it's here. It's finally here. The Champions League is
It's
back.
here.
So expect our predictions video to come out and stay tuned for that. But I'm not going to drag on this outro too much longer here. Just wanted to thank y'all for the continued support. I mean, we've been gaining subs like crazy. I mean, I feel like I say this every video, but every video we gain like 30, 40 subs since the last video. So it's just, we just thank you for the continued support. And we've been getting a lot of new viewers. So like we said at the beginning, if you're still here, hit the like button, comment down below what you think. Should Liverpool sack Klopp, and answer any of the topics we talked about. Let us know in the comments. Hit the subscribe button, and I'll let G say his final words before we get out of here.
That definitely, we love to hear from you guys. I mean, that's the number one thing we love. We love the interactions. You know, hate us or love us, we love whatever you guys have to say. You know, across TikTok, YouTube, we just like seeing our shorts that Zach fucking slaves himself over doing. I mean, this guy basically only does reels, but you know, we extremely appreciate it, and you know, that's really, I agree with everything you said. I mean, we're loving doing this stuff, and we're excited to keep doing it.
Yeah. So obviously, like I said, stay tuned for our next video, probably the Champions League prediction. So stay tuned for that. But without further ado, I'm your co-host, Zach.
I'm your co-host, G.
And we will see y'all next time for that Champions League prediction video. Peace.